afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Real Talks. I'm your host, David Steele, and he's Kyle. So we are here today to talk about some major goings-on, and for everybody that has seen them, you can follow them along. If you haven't, go to social media and watch them. So we're going to be talking about the three big trailers that were released yesterday. And they were on Twitter and Instagram and, YouTube and all of them. Speaking of social media, where can they find you on Twitter, Kyle?
So my Twitter account, my profile is at Arking Kyle. That's capital ARKINGKYLE.
Perfect. And I am on Twitter myself, and that is going to be Wannabe Rounder. That is going to be WANNABEROUNDER. So now that we get that out of the way, as I said, we're going to talk about these trailers one by one. So the very first trailer that was released, and it's been a minute, it's been quite a long time since we've had one of these films, is Transformers. And so tell us, what did you think when you saw the trailer, Kyle?
Okay, well, first off, this film, it's called Transformers Rise of the Beasts.
Yes, thank you for the correction.
Well, it's a really...
This is like the sixth one, isn't it?
It's the sixth Transformers movie, but the seventh movie with Transformers in it, given that we had...
Oh, that's right. We had Bumblebee a couple years ago.
I guess you can say it's a spin-off. It's really the seventh live-action Transformers movie, because there's also the animated movie. But the seventh... Oh, wait, no. It's the sixth live-action...
There's been a lot of them. Let's just put it that way.
So, okay. What's really interesting about this one is that it is depicting the Beast Wars animated series, which was the animated series that released after the original animated series back in the 80s. This series released in 1996, going into 1999, and it introduced the idea of Transformers transforming into beasts. So you had like gorillas, cheetahs, birds, and even rhinoceros, and all this type of it's a different type of form of transforming, and that was really cool for kids back then. I wasn't really alive back then when that came out, but I think what you see in this trailer is that you get to see new Transformers, so you get to see the new beasts. So there's like a gorilla, there's a cheetah, and the leader of them is the gorilla, and that's Optimus Primal. So he's like Optimus Prime, but if he was a gorilla. And the real catch with these Transformers, these beasts versions, is that they are known as the Maximals, and they are from the future. They are the future descendants of the Autobots. And I don't really know where this story's headed, whether they are from the future in this story, because the way the trailer makes it sound like it's like for millions of years the world is transformed and then something has awakened. Does that mean the Transformers, or the Maximals as they're called, were they always around, or did they come from the future? And it looks like this movie takes place in the 90s, because this apparently is following the same Bumblebee continuity, and Bumblebee took place in the 80s, and that's a prequel to the main Transformers movies. And it looks like this movie takes place after Bumblebee, but before the main Transformers movies. So this takes place in the 90s. And it's a lot to take in, but what I really also loved about this trailer is that it looks like this movie, just like many of the other Transformers films, is not skimping out on the action, because there is so much action in this trailer, from this incredible shot of one of the new Transformers, Mirage, one of the new Autobots, and he can literally make holograms of himself and project them to fool the other other robots, other humans chasing him. And then there's RC, which she's like the first female Transformer. And you also have Wheeljack, but I think one of the biggest takeaways I had is you don't see Megatron in this trailer. Megatron is a staple Transformers. He's like the main villain. There's Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots, and Megatron, leader of the Decepticons. And almost every Transformers movies has had Megatron. The only one that didn't was Bumblebee, but even in that movie they talked about Megatron. So it's like, will we finally see a Transformers movie without Megatron in it? And if so, how will the audience take that in? Because,
well, I think the other question becomes is who's the antagonist?
well, the antagonist, it appears, is this one. Okay, so there's three factions being introduced. There are the Maximals, the Predacons. Predacons are the future descendants of the Decepticons, and then you have the Terracons, who is like another faction of the Decepticons. And it looks like the antagonist of this movie is Scourge, who is the leader of the Terracons. And get this, David, he's actually voiced by Peter Dinklage. And Ron Perlman voices Optimus Primal.
Now, is he still... So, I know in a couple of them, they actually had the guy that actually voiced the
Peter Cullen.
Optimus. So is Ron Perlman...
Well, no,
was he the one that did...
Peter Cullen is still playing Optimus Prime.
Okay, cool.
And Ron Perlman will be Optimus Primal. So, don't worry, we still got Peter. We still got Peter.
Yeah, I mean, this looks just... It looks interesting. I mean, it's been around for a long, long time. I mean, I'm just looking at The Last Night, which, was the last one to really come out back in 2017. And it made $600 million. Now, you got to imagine the budget on this was, I'd say, 150 or 200. It was actually $217 million. So, I mean, it made money and it's still a productive franchise. I'm really curious to see where this goes. I'm curious, did you happen to see The Last Night?
Oh, yeah, I see. I saw them all. Transformers is one of my favorite franchises, and unfortunately, I saw The Last Night, and it is my least favorite Transformers movie. It is not a good movie. And surprisingly, I actually like all the Transformers movies except The Last Night. And
I remember, so this is going to date me, but I remember growing up and back in the 80s with, all these different toys and everything else. And back in the day, you could actually buy Transformers, the metal version of them.
Yeah.
And so I remember one Christmas, my parents got me, that's all they got me was Transformers. Megatron, Optimus Prime was like $40. Soundwave, the tape recorder. You had, it was just Starscream, Bumblebee. It was just amazing. But so I remember growing up with these. Now I've never seen the animated version. I know of it. I think it's like 90 minutes, but nonetheless, this is going to be interesting because once again, when we'll talk about this in other trailers, is that this is for a whole new generation, right? So it's, I know you said you grew up with, and we'll get to it in a minute, Crystal Skull, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull for Indiana Jones. So you were introduced to that. This is going to be a whole new introduction to a whole new audience of kids that want to go see that think this is pretty cool.
Right? Because, I was introduced to Transformers with the 2007 Transformers movie, and with the new audience, they're really trying to, I think, reboot this series because at least the box office returns for The Last Night were the least they expect. Like, they really, I think, wanted more from it, and it didn't do as well as they had hoped. And because of that, they had to retool and reboot with Bumblebee. Bumblebee is like its own new version of the Transformers movies while still kind of staying true to them. Where here we get new characters new designs. Like even Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, they are sharing the Bumblebee movie designs, which are more reminiscent of the Generation One Transformer designs from back in 1980s, the animated series. And what we also get to see is we're in a new world. So how does the Transformers like adapt to this new world of, where comic book films are really the king of the box office, and you do have Avatar coming in, where here I think Transformers is still a very profitable franchise. I think it's going to do really well. But like you said, it's going to be interesting to see how new generations of kids will get into this version of the Transformers and how it connects, because I think at the end of the day, it still is connected to the other movies. And it's not that far, it's not like, Star Wars, where we hadn't had a movie in 10 years. It's only about 5 years since the last Transformers, which is a longer time, but then, it usually is. It's still, I think, a good enough time where the audience is still, I think, interested. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, but this is so far out there that my guess is what they're going to do is they're going to release another one during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then that's going to get you excited for
And I think
this.
This is the thing about Transformers. They are so cool. Just the idea of a robot transforming. So they can release so much footage from this movie that will be cool to watch. And I think that will get all the butts in the seats just for that.
Absolutely. So, what do you guys think? Do you think this is going to be a hit when it comes out? Did you like the trailer? If you did, what parts did you like about it? Do you like the different factions? If so, which ones? Leave us your thoughts down in the comments.